Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked during the course of the week, and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you very much for putting in a whole bunch of questions. This whole thing lives and dies by the questions you put in, so I really appreciate it. Don't forget, if you want to have a question answered on the Q&A, leave it in the comments to this video. If it's anywhere else, there is a good chance I'm not going to be able to see it. Leave it in the comments to this video. I tend to film these around about Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. So if you want to guarantee to get your question in, try and answer it by, try and have it put in the comments to the video by Tuesday. If not, ask it me the following week. Without further ado, we're going to get straight into this week's questions. So let's do this. Okay, so the first question is not really a question, it's more of a statement, and it's from various different people. And they say, congratulations on getting 10,000 subs. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's been, you know, when I first set up Magic TV, X amount of months ago, however long it was, just over a year ago, something like that, I never expected it to be as popular as it is. I never expected so many people to listen to what I had to say. And it really means a lot that every single person that subscribed to the channel has done so. I really am blown away, and I will continue to produce content that hopefully you guys will find interesting as we move forward. But, you know, thank you for every single person that's posted on this and anywhere else saying congratulations for 10,000 subs. Thank you very much, and I'm only just getting started. Okay, so the next question is from the Bondville, and he says, thanks for the Q&A. I learned lots from it. Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it. What brand coins would you recommend for the hopping halves routine? Really, it's kind of, it depends on the environment in which you're performing in and what other types of magic that you're doing. So for example, if I was a hobbyist and I wasn't paid to perform and I was kind of like just showing magic to my friends out and about and stuff like that, and I wanted to do the hopping half routine, the original hopping halves routine, I would probably go for a set in whatever country I live in. So for example, Alakazam do an amazing set of coins that are in like 10p, 2p and 50p and £2, I think it is, because obviously you want it to kind of look like it's almost impromptu, like, hey, I've got some coins in my pocket, let me show you something. Me as a coin worker, I do hopping halves, and I use a set that's a silver Morgan dollar and a copper English, sort of a big copper coin, not an English penny, but a bigger version of an English penny, because I do a lot of tricks with Morgan dollars. Most of the stuff I do is with Morgan dollar size coins. So if I'm going to put together a routine, that involves coins, I want it to be the same type of coins that I'm doing everything else with. So it would almost look out of place if I was using silver dollars for everything and then switching to something else for a different routine. The same holds true if you use half dollars for lots of different things. And also, it very much depends on where you're performing. One of the reasons I use silver dollars is I perform in environments where people might be a little bit further back if I'm performing on a big table or something. So I want those bigger coins for people to be able to see. If you're doing intimate close-up magic, that won't be a consideration, right? So really, it just depends. Like Ryland, for example, he uses the HCC set, which is, we reviewed recently. He switched to the HCC set, which is sort of Chinese coins with a hole in the middle, coloured black and red, look beautiful. And one of the reasons for that is one of his favourite coin routines is Charming Chinese Challenge. So he uses Chinese coins for that. His thought process when he told me this is he can do Charming Chinese Challenge and then go into hopping halves, or do hopping halves and then go into Charming Chinese Challenge. So again, it very much depends on you, the performer. It very much depends on the environment in which you perform. One thing I will say is, if you've not checked it out, please check out Fancy a Pot of Jam, which is a DVD by Alakazam, and it's James Brown's Fancy a Pot of Jam. In there's a routine that's like hopping halves, but doesn't require any gimmick coins. There's one very simple gimmick coin that you basically make yourself in 10 seconds on the fly. But there's not really a gimmick coin, but it allows you to do a hopping halves routine almost impromptu. And the reason the DVD is called Fancy a Pot of Jam is the end, rather than showing your hands empty, you produce a pot of jam. It's a very commercial routine. So if you've not seen that, it might be worth checking it out. Okay, so the next question is from Delight1972. And Delight1972 says, hey Craig, what DVD would you recommend for starting in coin magic? I've tried books, but really prefer the DVD lecture format. Thinking of L&L or maybe Eric Jones. Keep up the amazing channel. So yeah, I think I've answered this before, but a while ago. I would probably go for a couple of different routes. First of all, look into the New York Coin guys. They brought out a set of like 17 DVDs, and the New York Coin guys were David Roth, Michael Rubenstein, Jeff Latter, and Mike Gallo. Unfortunately, David and Jeff are no longer with us, but the four of them, and I think the latter DVDs, Jeff wasn't involved because he passed away as well. But each DVD was on a specific subject. So I think the first was on coins across, and then the next one was on copper, silver, or something like that. But they are so in depth, and what you're doing is you're getting the knowledge base of four of the best coin magicians of all time, sharing some of their best creations with you. And all four of them are very good at teaching. So I'd recommend those. That is like pride of place in my coin magic library, in my DVD library. That is like pride of place. Those DVDs are amazing, and you can still get them. Eric Jones, the Metal series through Illusionist, is brilliant. It's probably the closest thing that we've got at this point to like a card college type course for coin magic. It's just simply brilliant. Eric Jones is one of the greatest coin magicians of all time, in my opinion, and he leaves no stone unturned when it comes to explaining his coin magic clearly and concisely. And then he hasn't got one particular project, but you always want to check into Justin Miller, because Justin Miller is one of the most underrated coin magicians of all time. He is such an amazing coin magician. Everything he does with coins is pure gold. And if you want to learn something which I think gives you the fundamentals of coin magic, and I still think it's probably one of the, if not the best coin routines of all time, you want to check out Silver Dream by Justin Miller. Now, it was originally put out by Illusionist. I don't know if Illusionist still carry it. They might do as a download, I don't know. But Silver Dream is basically a 3-coin production and vanish using 3 regular coins, and it uses sleeving. But you can't tell it uses sleeving, and Justin goes through certain techniques and principles and concepts that you can apply to everything else in your coin magic, whether you sleeve or not. So it's well worth looking into that as well. So there's a whole bunch of different stuff to look at, but I'd start with Justin Miller, Eric Jones, and the New York Coin guys. Okay, so the next question is from Lucas Jung, and Lucas Jung says, I was finally able to get some professional pictures taken. Awesome. So my question is, should business cards be two-sided, or should I leave one side blank? Well, really, dude, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, there's no right or wrong when it comes to this. I mean, obviously, if you have one side of the business cards blank, it allows you to do lots of magic tricks with your business cards. It'll allow you to set up out to lunch with your business cards. It'll allow you to use your business cards for a peek. It'll allow you to use your business cards for a whole bunch of different reasons. So, excuse me, having one side blank is great. What I would do, if the budget will stretch, is have some business cards that are blank on one side, and have some business cards that are printed on both sides. And you use the blank ones when you're doing magic tricks, and you use the other ones when you're actually giving out business cards. And if you're not able to do that, then make sure that you think very, very carefully about what you put on the business card. And we've got a whole section on business cards on Netrix, and myself and Steve Della sit down and talk about everything from the design to giving them out and absolutely everything. But the one thing I will say that a lot of people don't think about when they're creating a business card is, in my opinion, a business card should sell you to the person who not to the person that you give the business card to, but to the person that the person you've given the business card to gives it to. Now, that sounds very complicated, but let me explain. If you're giving a business card to somebody, it means that they've met you. It might be a networking event, it might be a gig, it might be something, but they've met you. And if they've met you, there's a very good chance that they've liked what you do. They've been impressed. If they weren't impressed, you wouldn't be in a situation where you're giving your business card to somebody. So realistically, the purpose of giving a business card to the person who's seen you is so they've got your contact details, so they can follow you on socials, or they can, check your website out or whatever. They already know that you're good, right? But a business card, how I find most people find me outside of digital marketing is they get told about me. So in other words, somebody will go, oh, I've got a party, I need some entertainment. Oh, really? You should check a magician out. I've met this guy. This is his card. Give him a call. So they give the card I've given to them to somebody else. Now that person has never seen me. So they don't know whether I'm good or not. They've got a personal recommendation, which is good, but they don't know whether I'm good or not. So the business card needs to sell me to that person. So I like it when a business card has like reaction shots like this and people losing their mind. You know, one side of the business card can be people going absolutely crazy. And you can have a line on there saying, would you like your guests to react like this? You know, that sort of thing. And then on the front of the business card, you can just have your strap line. I like to have almost like a strap line on my business cards. So it's not just, Craig Petty, phone number, blah, 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 blah. But it's, Craig Petty and a quote maybe. That sums up what I do. So when I do a lot of illusion shows, I have a card that I give to people, and I've got this quote that the BBC said about us, which is, imagine if Morecambe and Wise performed the illusions of David Copperfield, which is a great quote. It kind of sums up what my illusion act's all about. So that's just like random thoughts on business cards. I mean, what was interesting about the thing that we filmed on Netflix is that Steve Della and I, have polar opposite views on business cards. So it's very interesting to see it from two different points of view. And what I'm saying to you is only my opinion. It doesn't mean it's right. But I think that the most important thing is that business card should sell you to the person who's never seen you. So think about that very, very carefully. But it's great being able to have a blank back in order to do magic tricks, but understand that the most important thing about a business card is that it's to be given out to people in order for them to get your details. Okay, so lots and lots of people have commented on the Q&A and on various other videos around the channel about the Quantum Deck and about Luke Dancy, and the issues that he brought up. Just too many to read. I mean, Andy Cooper, I'll read yours out as yours is in front of me. Congratulations on the Quantum Deck, Craig. Sorry to see the trolls on the cafe, but the overwhelmingly majority support you and appreciate Magic TV perhaps more than we can express. Thank you very much. My view is that handing out a gimmick deck, not knowing folk are unlikely to find anything, is no different to handing out a gravity flipper before a coin routine. The Quantum Deck trailer says gimmick deck, and you show spectators examining the deck. What is there to criticise? Trick of the year for 2022, it's a done deal. It's only February. And then there's lots of other people that mentioned Dancy. So I don't want to turn this into another thing about the Quantum Deck. I don't want to turn this into another thing about Luke Dancy. You can go and check out my video that I did on Luke Dancy if you want to hear that. Basically, for those people that don't know what I'm talking about, Luke Dancy and Mike Hankins did a review on the Quantum Deck. It wasn't really a review because it wasn't even out when they did it. They did it was kind of a review. I mean, Mike hadn't even seen it as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty sure Luke hadn't watched all of it. But it was kind of their opinion on the Quantum Deck. And Luke made the statement that it's a dishonest trailer. And he said it's a misleading trailer and there's a few different reasons. The deck can't be examined. The deck can't be examined by magicians. There was some really stupid stuff in there, like if a trick needs to be this hyped, then why? Then is it even worth it? And Mike made the statement of, if a trick can't be examined by magicians, is it worth $40? And there was a whole bunch of other stuff in there. So I watched this and I was really upset by it because I poured my heart and soul into the Quantum Deck. Really did. Really poured my heart and soul into the Quantum Deck. And I only release something when I feel like it adds value to the community, whether that be through a plot or through methodology, from a method point of view, or whatever it is. I only release something if I feel like it adds value. And this is something that I absolutely believe in. This has been in my set for years and years and years. Not years, but yeah, a long time. Not decades or anything, but it's been in my set for a long time. And we spent probably the best part of a year trying to get it to a point where it was absolutely perfect. And then it got released, and the Magic Cafe is a very frustrating place. It can be a wonderful resource, it really can. But it's a very frustrating place, especially on the latest and greatest forum. And it's a double-edged sword. You know, creators have to go on there in order to answer questions from people, because a lot of your customer base are on the cafe and genuinely want answers. So the cafe is the best place to go for that. But especially in the latest and greatest forum, there's a lot of speculation on methods, and very, very quickly, you know, between guesswork and just outright statements, most tricks, you kind of realize how it's done by about page 10 of the Magic Cafe. And I don't really think that's right. I really don't think that's fair, but whatever. I mean, I'm very old school, where you get the method when you buy the trick. And if you don't buy the trick, you don't get the method. And that's just how it always was. Things have changed these days, and, you know, whatever. But, you know, there were people making statements on the cafe, and then in a couple of other videos, which I was a bit frustrated about, because they were making statements before they'd even got the project, before they'd even seen the thing. They were making a statement like, this cannot be examined, it's a gimmick deck, it can't be examined, before they'd even seen the tutorial, before they'd even held the deck in their hands. And how you can make that statement, I don't know. I mean, I review magic tricks, right? That's what I do. But I'd never review a magic trick without watching the tutorial or handling the prop. I'd never do that. I can't imagine why anybody would do that. Like, you know, I give things good reviews, I give things bad reviews, but I give things a bad review based on trying it out. That's why we perform every single trick that we review. Because if we're giving something a bad review, you can at least see that we've watched the project to a point that we can actually learn how to do the trick and present it to camera, right? So it was very frustrating that people were making those statements, and I was like, okay, whatever. Water off a duck's back. And then Luke came out, and I have to be honest, it felt like Luke had an agenda, because the stuff he was saying was just flat out just not true. It wouldn't have been a problem if Luke had just said, hey, I just don't like this, you know, and made a reason that made sense as to why he didn't like it. But the stuff he picked on, to a lesser and greater extent, didn't make any sense. Because, you know, he said it can't be examined by lay people. There's multiple live performances of me performing it to lay people in the real world, and you see why you can give it out to lay people, and it's absolutely not a problem. That's one of the things I'm most proud about, by the way, with the Quantum deck, is the ability to be able to hand it out to an audience member. It's the ability to be able to hand it out to an audience member and have them not find anything. That, for me, is one of the things that makes it, in my opinion, really special. And then he said you can't hand it out to magicians, and he made a big deal of that, even though there's a section about how to prepare it to hand it out to magicians. And by the way, you know, I mean, obviously everybody's been talking about the Quantum deck now. Everybody's been talking about it. But here's the thing, and so there's a lot of discussion about methods and so on and so forth. But here's the thing, this is a new application of an old principle. Two things about being examined to magicians. Three things, actually. Number one, I've performed it to lots of magicians in real life, and they've seen the gimmick. They've seen how it's gimmicked. But that hasn't helped them understand how the trick works. They're still fooled. They just have found that gimmick exists in the deck. Now, you're now looking at this, or a lot of people are looking at this, from the position of having seen so much talk and speculation about the Quantum deck that it's almost, I may as well have just put the tutorial online for free. But before anybody knew the Quantum deck existed, when I showed it to magicians, even if, I think most magicians didn't even see the gaff because of the deck that I prepared. One or two people did, but even if they did, they turned around to me and said, well, I can see this, but that doesn't even help. I'm still fooled, I still don't know how it works. And every single person I showed it to on the tutorial, they didn't have a clue how it worked. And I told them afterwards, and they're like, oh my God, I never would have got that, even if I had the deck in front of me. And I've fooled people like Peter Nardi, I've fooled people like Daniel Chard. Mark Bennett, who runs Smoke and Mirrors, when I went to film the Quantum deck, I performed it to him. And he's seen so many live performances. He knows so much magic. And I handed him the deck. And he didn't have a clue. He had no idea how it worked. He couldn't find the gimmick in there at all. He couldn't find anything. He just didn't have a clue. So turning around and saying it'll never fool magicians, it's fooled a lot of knowledgeable magicians. And there's a section on there about how to fool magicians with it. And I'm not going to get into this, but so they made that statement. And then they made the statement, like I said, about if a trick's needs to be hyped, is it even worth it? Which kind of made me think, well, obviously there's an agenda here, because this is such a stupid thing to say from someone who spent his entire career being hired by various different companies to hype people. This is somebody who runs a marketing company. This is somebody who understands the concept of hype. So to say if something needs to be hyped, is it any good, is ridiculous, especially as he's hyping stuff in his own channel to push people. That the whole video that he does, Taco Tuesday, is all about hype. It's all about hype. That's what it is. It's hype. He hypes stuff up to get people to buy stuff from his shop. That's what he does. And then he talks about you don't need 2 decks, which is just at that point factually inaccurate. You don't need 2 decks. Most of the routines just use 1 deck. And then he says if a trick won't fool a magician, is it worth $40? Which again makes me think he's got an agenda. Because it is, honestly, if you actually think about that statement, that's an actual statement he makes. Him and Mike say, if a trick is worth $40, if a trick can't be examined by a magician, is it worth $40? Now, this is a trick that now has 5.5 hours of footage, because we've just added an extra half an hour. This is a trick that has 1 hour of live performances. Name a project anywhere that has 1 hour of live performances. Anywhere, ever, that's been released to Magic. A single trick that has an hour of live performances. This is a project that has so many routines and concepts and ideas, and I go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. So to turn around and say it's not worth $40 is just absolutely ridiculous. So I did this rant, and here's the thing, it was never intended to be a rant. This is how I intended it to be. Me talking to camera, and here's the thing, I feel like I've let people down on Magic TV, and for that I apologise. And the reason I feel I've let people down is because 4 months ago I stopped the rants on this channel. And I made a statement saying I wanted this channel to be more of a positive place for people. I wanted this channel to be a place where people could come and learn more about magic. I didn't want to be the angry, shouty Craig. I wanted it to be a place where my kid could watch and be proud. And I know a lot of people were unhappy that I stopped the rants, and then there was other people that said, oh, I'm really glad you stopped the rants. I stopped. I made a promise to you guys that I would never do a rant again. And that video with Luke Dancy turned into a rant because I was really, really upset. And I apologise to everyone on Magic TV. I shouldn't have done that rant. Shouldn't have done it. I stand by everything I say, because I was also brought up to believe that you shouldn't take stuff lying down. And if somebody tries to bully you, and I'm not saying Luke was bullying me, he wasn't, but it's character assassination at its best. Then you don't stand for that. And I spent the best part of 1.5 years building Magic TV up and building my reputation up. Remember when I was at Blackpool 2020, I'd not been in the community for ages. Fast forward 2 years, I feel like I'm doing a really good job here. That's been hard work. That's taken time and effort and energy to get to that point. And so I wasn't going to let him destroy everything that I've built. So that's why I did the rebuttal video, because I completely disagreed with absolutely everything that he said in that video. But I did it the wrong way, especially at the end. I could have done it in a better way. We're not mates. We've spoken once, actually twice, because he interviewed me for the 1914 project, which I'd forgotten at the time. But we've spoken twice. That's not mates. The stuff he was saying, it felt like, I don't know what the reason is. I don't know, Luke. But there's something. There's a reason. Now, maybe it's because both him and Mike are ex-employees of Murphy's Magic. And maybe, I don't know how amicable it was when they left Murphy's Magic. Maybe they hold a grudge. I've certainly seen posts from Luke saying, oh, I don't feel like I'm in a toxic environment anymore. When people were speaking about Taco Tuesday in the comments of the video, somebody was saying, oh, I love this. Yeah, I don't feel like I'm in a toxic environment anymore. So he obviously holds a grudge against Murphy's. And then Murphy's bring out probably one of the biggest tricks that they've ever bought out. And suddenly him and Mike, who were both ex-employees of Murphy's Magic, are now ripping into this product saying stuff that's factually inaccurate. All I can think is Mike and Luke have got some sort of grudge against Murphy's, and they decided to take it out on the Quantum Deck, and maybe let's get to Murphy's by affecting sales or something. I don't know. Or maybe this was the first Taco Tuesday he did since leaving Murphy's Magic. Maybe he was trying to make a big impact on his first Taco Tuesday and prove that he's the honest magic shop and the shop that's honest. And the way to deal with that is to go after a creator who's made a name for himself by being honest. I don't know what the reason is, but it upset me. And so I did the rebuttal video. And I shouldn't have done it the way I did, but I did. It's done now. I can't change anything. But yeah, I mean, I stand by the Quantum Deck. I really do. I stand by it. I think that if people want to leave reviews for the Quantum Deck, I'm absolutely fine with that. As long as the reviews are completely factually accurate, that's fine. I probably would have left it with Luke if he'd just brought up the examinability thing. I probably would have left it because other people were saying that. And I disagree completely. And I've shown with live video footage why I disagree. But I probably would have left it. But the other stuff that he put and he said that was just complete and total lies, that's what pushed me over the edge. So for everybody that asked about Luke Dancy, yes, it upset me. And for anybody who saw me on Lloyd's Sunday session last week, I was very upset. And thank you for everyone that reached out to me. And the reason I was very upset is because, again, I'd spent an entire week just dealing with negativity with a very small group of people. And it was upsetting to hear people saying, oh, Craig's lying on the trailer. Craig can't be trusted. When I spend my entire life being honest about products to the point that I've lost friends over it. So, yes, I was very, very upset. In all honesty, I shouldn't have done the Sunday sessions. My head wasn't in the right space, but I did. Lloyd asked me to go on there, so I did, but I shouldn't have done them, really, to be honest. But yeah, that's where the whole thing comes from. I'm outspoken. You guys know who I am. I'm never going to change. I might stop the rants, but I'm outspoken. I'm brash. I'm honest. I hold my heart on my sleeve. I find it very difficult to not show people exactly what I completely feel. It's a character flaw, and that's the way it is. But, if I could do it again, I'd probably do exactly the same thing. Because I'm not going to have my character assassinated. I'm not going to sit here and have somebody spew lies about something that is completely untrue. So for everybody asking about the Luke Dancy situation, I'm now in a good space. Now, obviously, I'm filming this before Taco Tuesday's gone out. He might say something about me on there, in which case, this might be a completely different video. But as it stands right now, I'm in a good place. I don't regret what I did. I do think I went too far, and I apologise to everybody on Magic TV for that. And I love the Quantum Deck. I think that sums it all up. And, I'm seeing a lot of positive feedback on it. And for that, I appreciate every single person that's left a review. Okay, so the next question is Davis360. And Davis360 says, what is your favourite Triumph? Okay, well, I have a deck of cards. My favourite Triumph is one that I released many, many years ago with a regular shuffle deck of cards. I love Triumph. There's a whole bunch of different Triumph routines that I like. But my favourite, I released it on Slim, and it was called Rocky's Triumph. I've reshot it with bonus ideas on Netrix. I'll show it to you very briefly. So it uses a regular shuffle deck of cards. There's no gimmicks, there's no extras, it's just a regular shuffle deck of cards. Somebody picks a card, there is no force, they can pick any card they want to. You have them look at the card, so that's the card right there. You then tell them to say stop, they say stop, and you put the card back. You say, there you go, there's the card, have a look at it, remember it, so they remember it. And you say, look, you could have put it back any way you wanted to. And they say, yes. You then push it into the deck very, very fairly. You leave it in there, and you say, there you go, the card's lost in the deck. Now, most magicians at this point would shuffle the cards like this. And they would shuffle the cards, and then once they've shuffled the cards, they would cut the cards. And once they've shuffled and cut, they would try and find your card. That's what most magicians would do. I'm going to try and do a similar sort of thing, but I'm going to give the deck a very special shuffle. I'm going to take half the cards face up, I'm going to take half the cards face down, and I'm going to shuffle the cards face up into face down. So there's a situation here where we've got some cards face down, we've got some cards face up, and as I shuffle, you can see that there's face up cards being shuffled into face down cards. Now, that's a technical term for that. It's called a mess. Because now when you think about it, you've got cards back to back, you've got cards face to face, back to back. The cards are mixed up. And as I continue to cut, they continue to get more and more mixed up. Now, if I asked you to sort these cards out so they're all facing the right way, how long would it take you? And they say like a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. And you say, well, I'm going to sort these cards out in 1 second. Even though they're all mixed up, I'm going to sort them out in 1 second and find your card. And you snap and you say, it's done. And then you spread through and you say, look, now all the cards are the right way. Tell me if you see your card. And because there's one card face down. And you say, all these cards are face up. Tell me if you see your card, because there's one card and one card only face down. All these cards face up, one card face down. For the first time, what was the name of your card? And they say the 3 of clubs. And you go, 3 of clubs, that's amazing. Look at that. There it is, the 3 of clubs. You say, but hang on, think about this. You shuffled the deck. You then took any card out that you wanted to. It stands to reason there's another 3 3s in this deck. If I told you I could cake the deck with one hand, cut the deck with one hand, shuffle the deck with one hand, and with one hand find the other 3 3s, would that be good? And they say yes, and you say, okay, but with this hand over here. And then you spread out and you show you've got the 4 3s from a shuffled deck. And that is my favourite triumph. And it's my favourite triumph for a few different reasons. The first reason is it's completely in the hands. You don't require a table at all. It's absolutely awesome for walk around. Second of all, it's great because it's a shuffled deck of cards in use. They can pick any card. There's no force. It can be done anytime. Excuse me. It can be done anytime in the context of any routine. That's another thing I love about it. Also, I love the method. I think it's really fair. You know, I see a lot of people doing slip-slop shuffles, and I think slip-slop has its place in Magic. I really do. I'm not going to dismiss it completely. There's a few things I do with it. But when you're trying to do a very clean Triumph display, where you're showing that the cards are being mixed face up into face down, I think we should be able to do better than a slip-slop shuffle, to be perfectly honest. I also think that the ending is great. Now, the ending is based on an Ian Moran trick from many, many years ago, and he approached it in a completely different way. But what's really nice about this Triumph is you've got 3 beats, because normally a Triumph is all the cards are turned over except for your card. With here, you've got 3 beats. So first of all, you're showing that they've all gone back. The second part is the cards face down, the cards face down. And then the third beat is, just when they think that's over, you've then got production of the other 3 cards from the freely selected card. And it's that wonderful idea of, obviously I'm culling the other 3 cards, right? I've glimpsed the card during the course of the shuffle, and I'm culling the other 3 cards. This is the easiest cull in the world, and the reason it's the easiest cull in the world is because the spectator, you have a reason to spread the cards out face up, but the spectator is focusing on the deck, looking for something completely different, because you've said to them, tell me if you see your card. Now, they're not going to see their card because their card is face down, but that's all they're looking for. A lot of the time when people cull 3 or 4 cards out of a spread, they've got no reason to go, look, all of these cards are different, they're all there, and there's no reason to do the cull. And so there's a tension on the wrong part of the deck just when the dirty move's taking place. Now here, even though the attention's on the deck, you're focusing them on something else, so they never see the cull. And it's a great way to practice the cull, because let's be honest, you still have a trick there. If you mess the cull up and you're unable to get those 3 cards to the top of the deck, or let's say you're using a deck that's got a couple of cards missing, and for some reason you can't do it because there's only 3 of the particular value of the card that they picked, it makes no difference because you've still got a trick there. The trick is that the card's turned over except for 1 card, which is their card. It's not that you miss the 4 of a kind production, but that doesn't matter. So if you're going to learn a Triumph, if you're going to put a Triumph into your act, I think this is absolutely one of the best Triumphs to do because of that reason, because it allows you to practice the cull in a very clean way. And the displays are really, really smart as well. So there you go. That is my favourite Triumph. Hopefully that answers your question. There's many, many other Triumphs that I love as well, but that's the one that's absolutely my favourite. Okay, so the next question is from Marcus J. And Marcus says, when you do cube and bottle, do you offer your clients the choice of purchasing souvenirs for their guests? I'm sure I heard that they can be had for as low as £8 each to give away if during one table at a time. Would it be a great little seller, say one a table? Would also be worth it. I'm sure lots of event holders would be happy paying £15 extra a table to make sure each gets to take away something they'll never forget. Not sure how, but for the head table, bridegroom, birthday boy, girl, could be a really cool touch to have something personalised, maybe both. Okay, so that's a really great question, Marcus. And yes, his answer, basically. I don't do it at weddings, and maybe I should, but at corporates, I offer an upsell where I can supply, when I'm doing a show, okay, maybe you can do this close up, I don't know, but when I'm doing a show, when I'm doing a show, I always do cube and bottle in the show, right? And I actually tell the client who's booked me, hey, I'm going to do this trick. It's going to be a really nice giveaway. Is there one particular person that you want to do it on? And they normally say the MD or the CEO or something like that. I'm like, cool, no problem. They're going to end up with a really wonderful gift that they can put on their office desk and remember the evening by. I then say, if you want to, I could supply extra Cuban bottles for every single guest at that event. And I've had a couple of customers go for it. Not as many as I'd like, and I think I need to alter my sales pitch, but not as many as I'd like, but I've had a couple of people go for it. I also think that Cuban bottle would be great if you're doing a ticketed show and you've got them available after the gig as a standalone thing, so they can buy them separately. So as they come out the theatre or wherever you're performing, you've got these extra Cuban bottles for sale. And whether you do it at a corporate or a wedding, or you do it at a back of room sale at a gig, here's what I would do. And I talked about this with a few different magicians, to be perfectly honest. What I would do is I would have a really nicely produced video of you doing the Cuban bottle to camera. So, you know, you could do it to music, for example, or you could do it as a presentation piece, whatever you prefer. You could do it, hey, let me show you how I get a Cuban bottle. And you do this trick. So you do Cuban bottle to camera. And then you say, this cube is now yours to keep forever. And what I would do is the pitch would be, anybody who buys a Cuban bottle or anyone that gets a Cuban bottle, there'd maybe be a little label on there, and it would have a link through to the video. And they get to watch the video to see how their cube was put into that bottle. So that when they go home, they can watch it or scan the QR code or whatever, and they can look at that video and they can see me putting a Cuban bottle putting the cube into the bottle magically, the bottle that they're now holding. So it becomes more than a souvenir. Now they've got this magical memento of the show that they've been to, and they've got a video that they can show all of their friends and all of their family as a talking point of how that cube went into that bottle. I think that would be a really nice way to do it. And I think that if you're a ticketed act, if you're an act that sells tickets, I think it would be very smart to put the Cuban bottle into your show and then offer it as back of room sales at the end of the night. I think that is one of the ways that I think you could really kill and do quite well financially out of the Cuban bottle. Okay, so the final question is from Paul Jameson, and Paul says, I've seen you do on several videos a control of a card where the card gets controlled to the top of the deck. It looks like a convincing control, but it isn't. What is the control? Can you give me a source to learn it from, please? Yes, I can. I think I know what you're talking about. It could be one of two. So, what we're talking about here is the control of a card. And the convincing control, this is just a regular deck. So the convincing control, if you don't know what the convincing control is, it's the whole idea of having a card, let's say this one, for example, showing it to the audience and saying, right, that's your card. And then spreading through and saying, look, it's down in the middle of the deck. Pushing it in, and in that action, it's on the bottom of the deck. I don't know how that looked because I was culling a card and this isn't the best angle. It'd probably be best if I did it from this angle, so again, I'll do it. So that's the original convincing control. I'm sure a lot of people know the convincing control. It looks like it just goes down into the middle of the deck, but realistically, it's on the bottom of the deck. Okay, so that's the convincing control. You could be talking about one of two controls, so I'll go through both of them. The first control you could be talking about is the Top Con control by Gary Jones. Now, with that control, you have a card, for example, the Queen of Clubs, and you show it so they can see it's the Queen of Clubs. There is no cull, so the Queen of Clubs goes right there into the middle of the deck, and then you say, you know what, I'm going to put it a little bit further down to make it even harder. We're going to put it all the way down there, and in that action, you're done, and the card gets put to the top of the deck, okay? It's by Gary Jones. Chris Congreve has some work on it as well. It's called the Top Con Control, and it's great. Again, one more time. The Jack of Spades goes down into the middle, and it goes down. You can even do it like this. I think Chris does it like this, so it goes right into the middle, and in that action, it's there on top of the deck. So that's Gary Jones' Top Con Control. Chris Congreve does that a lot, and on Net Tricks in the slight section, Chris goes through a couple of different variations of the Top Con control and a couple of different ways of doing it. So Top Con is great. That's a great source to learn it from, the Net Tricks when it launches. The other thing that you could be talking about is the Slipstream control, which is by Troy Hooser. So the Slipstream control is a little bit different in that the card, again, it feels the same as the Convincing control and the Top Con control. So again, it looks like it goes into the middle of the deck. And you say, look, it could have, it could be anywhere here. And in that action, when you push it in, the card's now second from top, which allows you to go into something like you can do a double lift or whatever. It's actually in the second card from the top. Okay, that's called the Slipstream control. It's by Troy Hooser. It's in his books by Vanishing Ink. But that's beautiful because you see the card, you see it going in. You then show all the other cards and you can show the position that it's in. You push it in and you're done. It's now second from top, okay? I have a lot of applications of the Slipstream control. I have several different applications which I talk about on the Net Tricks. Again, I don't want to make this a hard sell for the Net Tricks, but I've got about 10 different applications for this, and they're all on there. So when it launches, if you want to spend more time learning about either the Slipstream control or the Top Con control, the Net Tricks is the place to go. But they are for sure beautiful controls, and one of the reasons they are so nice is because it feels really fair. A lot of the time when you do a control and the card gets put back in the deck and you do this sort of thing, that's fine, and I use that in the real world all the time. But when you can have a card put back in the deck and you can be very, very clean about it. You can say, look, it's going right there. Look, let me bury it down even further. I can't get fairer than that. Look, you can see it going in there. And in that action, it's come to the top. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It really is. So there's lots of different ways of doing it. But if you're talking about the control that looks like the Convincing control, then it's either going to be the Top Con control, which takes the card to the top of the deck, or the Slipstream control, which takes it second from top of the deck. Okay, guys, that's another Q&A in the bag. Thank you once again for joining me this week. Slightly shorter Q&A this week because I'm filming it earlier because I'm going to Blackpool. But once again, thank you so much for joining me on the channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. It means more than you would ever know. Don't forget, you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. I'm going to be back again tomorrow with a 5x5 at 9 o'clock, a short at 2 o'clock, at 6 o'clock there's going to be a live. Also, don't forget, there's still a few more videos to come up today. We've got a 2 o'clock, we've got a shorts, 6 o'clock, we've got a live. At 9 o'clock, I've got a review show special, and I am going to be looking at all of the new releases from Orion Productions, Perseus Acromanus' Orion Productions. I'm going to be looking at all of the new tricks that Perseus have put out. So make sure you check that out. But one more time, guys, thank you very much for joining me here today. Have a fantastic Sunday. If you see me in Blackpool and you're watching this, come on over. Let's have a jam. I'll see you soon. My name's Craig from Magic TV.